me start with the Chilean social protests, and I'll try to be brief. The extraordinary level of social mobilization and protest that we saw in Chile at the end of last year, moving right up into the period where the pandemic hits, and obviously the pandemic has altered the political context in Chile, but certainly the protest movement is speaking to profound needs and grievances within Chilean society, both with political institutions and the political establishment, and then certainly with the neoliberal model, and in particular what I would call the social pillars of the neoliberal model. So education, the social security system, pensions, healthcare, et cetera. And to that extent, in some ways I see the social protest. We talk a lot in Latin America about anti-neoliberal social protests, but for the most part in other countries, what we see are protests are in a context of economic crisis where there are adjustments being imposed, some sort of structural adjustment or austerity measures. And so you get IMF food riots, or there's an effort to try in a context of financial crisis, perhaps. And so you get their anti-neoliberal protests, but I think it's a little bit different from what we're seeing in Chile. In Chile, this is not a response to a short-term economic crisis or a financial meltdown. It's not a protest in response to the imposition of neoliberal reforms. It's protest really against what Polanyi called market society. I mean, that's what Chileans are protesting against. It's a society where the market dictates all social relationships. And Chileans, in many respects, I think are out ahead in part because the Chilean model is, let's face it, Chile is, it's the showcase of neoliberalism. It was the first, it was the most comprehensive, it was the most thorough, and it was also the most successful. And in some ways, what you're seeing are Chileans pushing back against a very mature market society, even though there have been efforts on the part of the center-left governments in Chile to modify neoliberalism, especially those social pillars of the neoliberal model. So there have been efforts to modify it. Clearly, Chilean society is saying that's not enough. We want more, and we want to rethink the relationship between the political institutions and this underlying social and economic order. And so I think you could certainly, is Chile perhaps the future of other Latin American countries? Could you see some of this pushback in other places? Quite possibly so. Perhaps other countries will learn the limitations, sort of the political limitations of the neoliberal model by looking at Chile. You would hope that they would do so, but I'm not so sure. But I think in many respects, I think Chile really is kind of at a different level of advancement with their neoliberal model than other places in the region, and it's a little bit different kind of anti-neoliberal protest that you see taking place.